I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
I appreciate the fact that you crossed the aisle and made an apology. You all have been through a lot. You all lost someone very near and dear.
Ms. Nesbitt is taking Mr. Henderson to court to prove he's the dad of her 7-month-old daughter, Diane. She's confident and says when the test results come back, she expects Mr. Henderson to step up and be a proper father. Mr. Henderson, though, thinks it's straightforward. He claims Ms. Nesbitt was unfaithful with a neighbor around the time Diane was conceived and believes the neighbor, Zion, is actually the biological father. Let's begin by looking at some of Ms. Nesbitt's problems with Mr. Henderson.
Well, he buy her diapers, that's about it. He doesn't do anything for my child, but buy her diapers. He does more for my 2-year-old son that he knows that's not his, than his own daughter.
Ms. Nesbitt has another son from before she met Mr. Henderson. It seems Mr. Henderson treats this older son better than the child Ms. Nesbitt claims is his. That's some backward thinking, right? Why look after a kid you know isn't yours and neglect the one who might?
I feel that I shouldn't have to take care of another man's baby.
But you are taking care of another man's baby, right?
Yes, but at this time, I came into this baby's life and I already knew he wasn't mine, but I had a possibility that she could have been mine, but she's not, so I felt kind of hurt. So
there's a level of resentment.
It's obvious Mr. Henderson is acting this way because he's bitter about Ms. Nesbitt cheating during their marriage. It gets even messier when you consider that Mr. Henderson claims he supported Ms. Nesbitt all through her pregnancy with Diane. He even signed the birth certificate without her permission.
So wait, you had asked him previously not to sign it?
Yes, Your Honor.
So Mr. Henderson, you did sign the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you remember having the conversation with Ms. Nesbitt that said?
So it's pretty clear cut why at one point Mr. Henderson wanted Diane to be his daughter, but in the past 7 months, he changed his mind and stopped caring for her altogether. Ms. Nesbitt says the only reason he signed the birth certificate was to eventually gain custody of Diane. But if he signed it, why isn't he taking care of her now?
Come on, Your Honor, I can't be no man that's taking care of another man's baby.
Okay, now I want to understand that, your doubt. Because what it sounds like to me is you were at the hospital and you were really trying to convince yourself
Yes, Your
that
Honor.
this was your child.
Yes, Your Honor.
And signing the birth certificate was a way for you to say, stay in with this family, I'm gonna make a family, I'm gonna be here,
Mr. Henderson claims he stopped taking care of Diane because Ms. Nesbitt told him the baby isn't his, but belongs to their neighbor, Mr. Brown. That's pretty intriguing, considering she's in court now trying to prove Diane is actually Mr. Henderson's child.
Well, let me tell you how it all began. He had sex with his cousin, and you know.
Yes, I did, but that was before her.
She said that she had sex with my little black car and they had a baby.
Before that, when you was sitting in the car with your friend, when y'all left from the Riverwalk.
No, that's not true. You got her pregnant.
Yes, it is. It's true, Your Honor.
Wait a second, it gets a lot worse than you can imagine, but that still doesn't answer the question. Why does Ms. Nesbitt think this child isn't Mr. Henderson's?
Well, I doubt it because we was having unprotected sex for a year straight, and all of a sudden I had sex one time with Mr. Brown and I ended up getting pregnant 2 weeks later.
Basically, she's saying she doubted Mr. Henderson was the father because they'd been together for a year without getting pregnant. Meanwhile, she was intimate with Mr. Brown once, and soon after, she found out she was pregnant. Now, let's hear Mr. Brown's side of the story.
But you did have a sexual encounter with her.
Yeah, one time.
It's like birthday sex, that was about it.
It wasn't more that she used to always hit me up and text me and all that stuff. I used to text her.
It was been going on longer than that. It was more than one
It
night.
was just birthday sex, that
It
was
was
it.
just one night only, but we used to always text and stuff like that. I used to hit her up with different females' names because he used to be around, so I'd be like, this Nancy, and she'd text me like LOL, you know what I'm saying?
Now that's really messed up. Can you imagine being in Mr. Henderson's shoes right now? Listening to your partner talk about cheating on you on live TV is absolutely wild.
We had sex the one time,
Just that one night on her birthday when her and him
and the
got into
protection broke.
I don't remember protection broke. I was buzzing a little bit, but I don't remember no protection broke. You know what I'm saying? Reminds you, I just came to the comfort that one night because he got the we was chilling. You know what I'm saying? When I was massaging and my hands led to other places, and you know what happened after that.
Now that's even worse. Ms. Nesbitt is really something for doing that to her husband. When she got pregnant, she told both men they might be the father. Mr. Brown is convinced the baby isn't his. He's so sure he brings baby pictures of himself and asks if he even looks like baby Diane. But that doesn't prove anything.
Look anything like you, in your opinion?
Nothing like. One day she had told me she didn't want to take the first. She was always asking like, do you mind taking a test? I'm like, yeah. Then one day she called, text me like, you don't need to take no test because I know it's his baby.
No, you.
I guess she didn't want to hurt
Your
his
Honor,
feelings
he's
or
the
something.
one that called me.
So wait.
Now the judge has had enough of this drama. Let's get to the bottom of it. Who is baby Diane's father, Mr. Brown or Mr. Henderson?
are not her father.
Oh, hey,
Okay, sit down, Mr. Brown. Your name rhymes with clown, but you're not gonna clown today. Just calm down. Calm down. Mr. Henderson, you are her father.
Miss Cavanaugh faked a pregnancy and kept the lie going for weeks. She had a really elaborate way of doing it too. After all that deceit, the paternity test results completely shocked her. Here's how it all unfolded.
Miss Cavanaugh, you and your mother are appearing in court today to prove paternity of your 3-week-old son, Malcolm. Now, you claim his biological father is Mr. Bowles, even though you admit to being intimate with another man, Mr. McElliott, during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, he's waiting outside of the courtroom and he'll be joining us shortly.
Mr. Bowes goes on to shoot himself in the leg. He says that he had never seen the 3-week-old Malcolm before today. Regardless of this, he claims that Malcolm is not his biological baby. How can one even tell if this is the first time he's seeing the baby? This is an interesting question, especially since Miss Cavanaugh keeps insisting that the baby belongs to Mr. Bowes.
I believe Mr. Bowles is my son's father. Even though we wasn't in a committed relationship, we had unprotected sex frequently, and he has not been around. He doesn't ask about my son. He probably didn't even know my son's name was Malcolm until now. And I'm just ready to prove that he is the father because my son doesn't have a voice, so I'm his voice.
There's one other person in question, and their sexual intimacy was only once, and with Mr. Bowles.
Miss Cavanaugh's mother seems to be more involved in all of this than Miss Cavanaugh herself even. Although Mr. Bowes admits to being intimate with Miss Cavanaugh a couple of times, here is the reason why he is 100% sure about the paternity of baby Malcolm.
Actually, when we first met the first night, we had sex of being in her house.
It wasn't within 20 minutes.
And then, like, probably 3 weeks later, maybe 2 weeks later, I found like an open condom wrapper in her bathroom.
Well,
she had already said that
just because,
like, I was the only person she was having sex with, and
then the condom that he's talking about, it was my friends that I worked with. Her and her boyfriend spent the night, and that was that.
She said she used it. She said it was with her ex.
Well, oh well. Now it'll seem like Mr. Bowes is getting quite paranoid and has started to believe things that didn't happen. On to Miss Cavanaugh. She went on to explain that the first person she told about her pregnancy was Mr. Bowes. She did this simply because she wanted to be in a committed relationship with him, but he did not respect her. All these feelings led her to be intimate with Mr. McElliott.
About my feelings. So yes, I did have one encounter with Mr. McElliott, but I felt like I wanted to do that to make him jealous because I want him to see that somebody else wants me and maybe he would want me.
This is where Mr. Bowes spills the tea about how Miss Cavanaugh actually lied about being pregnant. They saw one another every day, and she was getting very infatuated with the young man. However, he was not giving her the attention she wanted. This is when she took the initiative.
I went to the store, got a pregnancy test, was going to take 2 negatives, turn it into a positive, and
Take 2 negatives and turn it into a positive.
Yes, crack them open and turn them into a positive.
Oh, and put 2 of the lines together. So you had a plan to pretend you were pregnant in order to keep him. And then what happened?
Well, I took both of the tests, Your Honor, and I went to go eat, and I came back and they were both positive.
What a woman. It's interesting that anyone would even think about that. When Mr. Bowes heard about the pregnancy, he did not believe her at first, considering that she was just planning to lie to him about something so crazy. That's a man that truly knows the woman he's with, if you ask me. He added that he did not trust her because he knew that she was intimate with other men, also saying that it's not just one other man she was with, but a bunch of others.
I didn't want to have sex anymore until we were in a committed relationship. We fell asleep because I was tired. He wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tells me he's going to go have sex with another woman.
What?
Yeah, so
You wake her up to tell her that?
We wasn't together, so I can leave and go back to my house and do whatever.
And yes, I did chase him out of my house because I don't see why you would. Any woman. Any woman.
Turns out Mr. Bowes is not an angel after all. He said that to her in her first month of pregnancy. Isn't that something? Regardless of all of this, Miss Cavanaugh still has feelings for Mr. Bowes, which is utterly mind-boggling as it is. After a lot of banter, we finally get to meet the second potential father, Mr. McElliott.
Miss Cavanaugh, I would say, is a very special one. Me and her, we met, we hooked up and went out to eat or something like that. But ever since—
So you took her on dates and courted her and treated her like a lady should be treated?
Always.
Good.
That was definitely a jab in Mr. Bowes' general direction. Mr. McElliott found out about the pregnancy from a picture of an ultrasound Miss Cavanaugh sent, which she insists looks like his mother. What an interesting turn of events. Looks like truly we have 2 possible fathers in court today.
Who do you think he looks like?
I want to say Mr. Bowles, but you can't always go on looks. But I just have I have a feeling. I would be very pleased and very happy if it was Mr. McElliott's, because he would be a good father. But I just don't know.
Do you?
The new guy, Mr. Modelman McElliott, added that sure, he signed the birth certificate, but he did that only because the whole paternity thing was beginning to stress him out. It was stressful on Miss Cavanaugh as well. And that made it easier for him to sign it because he absolutely does not mind starting a family with her. However, it gets better. Mr. McElliott spills the beans and shares this with the court.
Third party or something that was included in this?
Yes.
Okay.
That's true, Your Honor.
Oh, no, it's true.
That's true, Your Honor.
A third party?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please elaborate on the third party.
It was a very drunken night, and it was a one-night stand.
Do you remember whether you used protection or not?
No, that's why I think it may be another person, but I'm not quite sure.
Whoa, so there really is a third man involved in all of this. What a woman. And what a drunken night that must have been. After this little reveal, the funniest conversation ensues in court. It would seem like Miss Cavanaugh's mother does not understand whose court she just stepped into, really.
That's something I don't understand, though. Men like yours having sex all over, but I just don't understand why people can't.
Well, since we want to go to school, let me take you there. Bear the children, meaning they can orbit in uncertainty indefinitely, not knowing whether or not they're the father, when we know for certain and we are responsible. And that's the difference we have to teach our young girls.
Judge Lake put Miss Cavanaugh and her mother in the school bus, took them to school, and brought them back to paternity court in just about 5 minutes. Oh, they are not done one bit. There's so much more to be said.
Her daughter learned was a very valuable lesson. Who you gonna lay down with, right? And look, you cannot baby or trick him into having his baby.
And I never said that she could.
I've seen that. It's true.
Look, these aren't lessons just your daughter has to learn. A lot of women in this courtroom had to learn it.
Your Honor,
You got to respect yourself.
After so much bickering in court today, the results are out and we all get to hear it. Everyone is on the edge of their seats as we're all trying to figure out who the father of baby Malcolm is. Could it be the cold-hearted Mr. Bowes, Mr. Nice Guy McElliott, or Mr. What's-His-Name third-party drunk encounter? There's just one way to find out.
Mr. McElliott, you are not his father. Mr. Bowles, you are not his father. Calm down.
It's time to meet Ms. Brogden, our main character. She's in court today to figure out who the father of her daughter is. 1-year-old Quamira has not had a father figure in family to call her own, and this upsets Ms. Brogden so much, it brought her to paternity court. The suspected father, Tyrrell Jones, is unfortunately deceased. His family is in court alongside Ms. Brogden. However, there's a delicious twist in the story. Look at this.
I don't think that's my brother's baby. I don't.
Why?
Tamisha, first of all, slept with 2 of my brothers. So that's what...
She slept with
2 of my brothers.
2 of them.
2 of my brothers.
And that's true, Ms. Brogden?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you're in court saying that just Tyrell is your daughter's father.
Yes.
If you slept with the other brother too,
Yes.
could he potentially be the child's father too?
No, Your Honor. I heard otherwise.
You did. What did
Yes,
you
I
hear,
did.
Ms. Sugden?
Oh, so that happened. She slept with 2 brothers, and there's a possibility that either of them could be the father. I mean, with all of this going on, one can say that Ms. Brogden was really put in the family way. That's not all there is to the story. When asked why she decided to reach out after a full year, seeing that baby Quamira is 1 year old, here is what Ms. Brogden had to say.
It's hard. My baby had a seizure. She been sick. Didn't have a job since I have her. Like, I have no help at all.
And this is really difficult for you to raise her alone.
One would think that if you had 4 kids at 25 with no job and no form of financial support, getting a 5th child would not exactly be a priority. But my, oh my, here we are. Tyrrell's sister is one of the women in court today, and she insists that the baby does not belong to Tyrrell or any of her brothers, in fact. She goes on to add that Ms. Brogden needs to move on away from their family to find her daughter's real father. According to her, all of this stress is preventing her own mother from healing after the tragic loss of her son.
Yes.
You were. Explain to me the nature of that relationship.
Me and Tyrell, we were together for like 3 years. Like close to the end, Tyrell started cheating. He started staying out. He started doing all this type of stuff. It was one night, Tyrell lied and said he was at the police district. He wasn't there. I went to his grandmother's house where he said he was there.
What an absolute joke. So she'd been in a relationship with the deceased for 3 years. However, one night he's not available and he's unresponsive to her calls. Then she happens to have some alcohol and decides to sleep with his own brother simply because he was available. Oh, Paul Jones. What was the brother even thinking? Perhaps Paul wasn't thinking at all.
End up, you're dating this guy, and then you sleep with his brother. Just for the anger?
Yes.
And so you did it to get back at him?
I've been through a whole lot with Tyrell out of the 3 years. It was not just him lying and staying the night out. No, it's more than that.
Miss Sugden, you're saying you've heard personally that she was sleeping with 2 brothers around the same time?
Yes.
Tyrell's sister, Ms. Sugden, further responded to this, saying that although she accepts the possibility of either brother being the father, one thing still stands. This thing being that the entire family hates her now because she slept with 2 brothers. Ms. Brogden tore their family apart as Tyrell and Paul kept at each other's throats until the end. Now Paul is living with guilt, knowing that he slept with his deceased brother's girlfriend, and he was so upset about getting a paternity test done. What a guy.
When she called me and said she had the baby, Tiara was at my house. I said, Tiara, she had the baby, want to go? Oh, what I'm going to the hospital for?
Why didn't Mish call? Why is she going through you all the time? She's a grown woman.
You're right. Why did she go through me? But
y'all
keep going through you
y'all
about
don't like
every single
me. Y'all
thing.
hate me.
What a ruckus in court today. After she had the baby, Ms. Brogden called another of Tyrell's baby mamas. Looks like Deanna and Ms. Brogden may be quite close considering that she came to court as her witness. Deanna told Tyrell's sister about the baby and she absolutely refused to come to the hospital and get a paternity test done. There's another witness in court today, Tiara Jones, the second sister of Tyrell. Oh, the things she has to say.
I was told not only from Miss Chambers, but another mutual friend that she had another, and not Tyrell Jones. So it's just a coincidence that both of their last name is Jones, but at first I heard that he was there.
Wait, there's another Jones in the picture? Well, okay, Ms. Brogden, it looks like this woman has been working overtime to get her baby that last name. After all of the bickering from the women in court, we finally get the verdict, and this time it comes with a little twist.
Part of this testing is to determine whether or not either brother has fathered your child. The second level, if we make that determination, will be to determine which brother, in fact, fathered.
And it just makes sense, seeing that Tyrell isn't here. There are a lot of men involved with 2 brothers on that list, and a direct paternity test can't be done. Now everyone's on their toes, and it feels as though the tension in court can be cut through with a knife. Here are the results.
Christina Jones is related to Quamira Jones. Mr. Paul Jones is not the father. Tyrell Jones is Quamira's biological father.
The Ellis brothers have brought their mother to court today to find out who their real father is. They recently discovered that their mother, Ms. Shivers, had slept with both their father and his brother, meaning their uncle could actually be their biological father. Ms. Shivers admits to this and is in court to find out who fathered her boys and to ask for their forgiveness. What a situation.
We were at a family gathering, or just having some drinks or whatever, and Uncle Ronnie came up to me and said, "You know I'm your son. You know you my son, right?"
It was basically like a family get-together. It was a family function.
Ms. Shivers confesses she slept with both brothers because there was nothing else to do and she had nowhere else to turn. In cases like this, one goes to the cathedral, Ms. Shivers. The next thing to do is not sleep with 2 brothers. Arthur Ellis, one of her sons, thinks he might be his uncle's child, and Eugene, his brother, agrees it's possible since they realize that their father treated Arthur differently while he was alive.
When I was in jail, but he wrote him, send him money, so that made me feel.
Unfortunately, we had to take a trip down the road. And my dad, my father, he wrote me more.
That's really cold. And it's true. Arthur Ellis deserves to know the truth. On the flip side, the man who could be Arthur's father, Ronnie Ellis, has always shown him more love than his actual supposed father. Eugene Ellis, on the other hand, is sure of his paternity.
And you look at my dad, if you had a full body shot of my dad, I'm slim like my dad. I'm built like my dad. My features like my dad. Arthur is big. He's a big guy right here. Uncle Ronnie is big. That's a big guy right there.
Well,
his hair is different from my hair. I mean, if we got the same dad.
Eugene might think he knows who his father is, but his mother has serious doubts. She's unsure about Eugene's real father, and he's finding this out live in paternity court.
I was married to another man before I left and went to Detroit, and that's when I got pregnant with Eugene, so.
Do you feel there are reasonable, credible doubts as it relates to Eugene as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's just unbelievable. Hopefully, Ronnie McClellan's testimony can clear things up and give a clearer picture of the Ellis brothers' paternity.
Young man could be your biological child.
My brother had put her and Eugene out, and they came back to Chicago and lived with me. And while they were living with me, she said we only had sex once with me. That's what she must have meant, you know?
But you remember.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so the potential father is between Ronnie McClellan and the now departed John Ellis. Hopefully, there is no other potential father for Arthur Ellis at this point.
I met him when I was waitressing in the restaurant, and he ran a big hotel, and he also, gave me jobs and stuff. That's when Eugene was like about 4 or 5. We had a couple of little nights, where we had a few drinks, and we did have intimacy. He died.
Oops, and there we have it, folks. 3 potential fathers for Arthur Ellis and 2 potential fathers for Eugene Ellis. We are going to check the results for Eugene first.
John Ellis is your father.
I knew that. I said that from the beginning. I knew that. Look at me.
Now let's check the results for Arthur and see whether Ronnie, John Ellis, or perhaps even Nick Cage might be his potential father.
John Ellis is your father.
I told you.
You hear me? I needed that.
I know, that's why I'm here.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because we're about to dive into one of the most outrageous paternity court cases we've ever seen. Miss Cavanaugh and her mother, Michelle, are here today to prove that Mr. Bowles is the father of Miss Cavanaugh's 3-week-old son, Malcolm. But the twist? Miss Cavanaugh admits to being intimate with another man, Mr. McElliott, during the window of conception.
Miss Cavanaugh, you and your mother are appearing in court today to prove paternity of your 3-week-old son, Malcolm. Now, you claim his biological father is Mr. Bowles.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even though you admit to being intimate with another man, Mr. McElliott, during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Bowles claims he's positive he's not the father, even though he and Miss Cavanaugh were getting it on regularly. But get this, he found a condom wrapper in her bathroom, and he thinks that proves she was sleeping around. Miss Cavanaugh shuts that down real quick, saying the condom was actually her friend's.
Was only once, and with Mr. Bowles.
Well, ma'am, you seem to know more about it than she does,
Yeah,
so let me bring you on in. So you are Miss
I'm her
Cavanaugh,
mother.
you're her mom.
And I'm a good mother, and we have a close relationship, and she tells me everything.
That's great. I'm glad that you all are close.
Uh-oh, looks like Mr. Bowles is grasping at straws here, folks. And get this, Miss Cavanaugh even admits she lied about being pregnant in the first place, trying to use a fake pregnancy test to keep Mr. Bowles interested. Yikes, talk about desperate measures.
The reason why he believes he is not the father.
But did you tell him that you used that
No.
condom with your ex? So that's not true.
No, I feel like he's just trying to justify his reason.
All right, so now you find out you're pregnant.
Yes.
When you find out, who do you tell?
Your Honor, I told him. I told Mr. Bowles because that's who I believed was the father. It was the right date, right conception time.
But the real kicker? When Miss Cavanaugh took the real pregnancy test, it came back positive. Oops, looks like her little scheme backfired big time. Judge Lake is not impressed, that's for sure. She's calling out Miss Cavanaugh for her immaturity and lack of responsibility. And get this, Miss Cavanaugh even says she slept with Mr. McElliott to try and make Mr. Bowles jealous.
Because it didn't work at all. I told both of them at the time that I found out that I was pregnant. I told both of them.
Well, I'm glad you understand the error of your ways, because now you know. It takes a lot of this. Why we're standing here today. You know, Mr. Bowles, I'm trying to understand your doubt fully.
And also, before she got pregnant, she actually lied about being pregnant maybe like some weeks before.
Now, Mr. Bowles is really throwing Miss Cavanaugh under the bus, saying she lied about being pregnant before she actually was. And get this, he even says he woke her up in the middle of the night to tell her he was gonna go sleep with another woman. Yikes, talk about disrespectful.
We fell asleep because I was tired. He wakes me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tells me he's going to go have sex with another other woman.
What?
Yeah, so
You wake her up to tell her that?
First of all, we was just friends, so I
So
can
just
leave and
because I
go
was asleep, that justifies what you did?
We wasn't together, so I can leave and go back to my house and do whatever I want.
Miss Cavanaugh is rightfully furious, chasing him out of her house. Judge Lake is not having any of this nonsense, and she's laying down the law. She's making it clear that the responsibility of a child falls squarely on the mother, and these men need to start taking some accountability.
Signed the birth certificate and didn't care if he was the father and wanted to be with me. Even if he did that, I would still want my son to know who his true blood father is, because everybody deserves to know.
That's right. You know what? I think it's time we meet Mr. McElliott. Jerome, will you please escort him in?
But just when you think the drama couldn't get any crazier, in walks Mr. McElliott. Turns out he's actually been pretty great throughout this whole situation. He told Miss Cavanaugh he'd sign the birth certificate and be a father to the child, even if he wasn't the biological dad. Ah, what a stand-up guy.
Me and her, we met. I got her number. I called her that evening, offered her for a movie. We hooked up and went out to eat or something like that. But ever since...
So you took her on dates and courted her and treated her like a lady should be treated?
Always.
Good.
Judge Lake is really laying into these men, calling them out for their irresponsible behavior. She's making it clear that the consequences of their actions fall squarely on Miss Cavanaugh's shoulders, and that's just not fair. The judge is preaching the importance of respecting yourself and not trying to trick a man into having a baby.
And I mean, I really couldn't understand how you can get facial features from an ultrasound, but...
Well, you can, but regardless, the point is she was talking about the baby as if this child could be yours. So as you look at Malcolm, who do you think he looks like?
I want to say Mr. Bowles, but you can't always go on looks.
But just when you think the drama is over, Judge Lake screeches the proceedings to a halt. The envelope with the DNA test results is in her hands, and it's about to go down.
Mr. McElliott, you are not his father. Mr. Bowles, you are not his father. Calm down.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to put you guys through all that.
We've got a wild one on our hands today, folks. Miss Montoya and her son, Mr. Sensabaugh, claim that Miss Brown has been lying to them about the paternity of her daughter, Malaya. And get this, Mr. Sensabaugh says a recent near-death experience has made these results more important to him than ever.
Ms. Montoya, you and your son, Mr. Sensabaugh, claim you've been lied to by the defendant about the paternity of her child on numerous occasions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you say a recent near-death experience makes today's DNA results more important to you than ever.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, let's dive in. Turns out Miss Brown and Mr. Sensabaugh were in a relationship, but it ended when he didn't show up to sign the lease on an apartment they were supposed to move into together. Miss Brown then went to visit her ex, and that's when things get really messy.
He had said that he was ready to man up and move in together, so I had found an apartment. I had an apartment that was ready for us to sign the paperwork. He was supposed to show up the date of us seeing the apartment and giving the money and signing the paperwork. He never showed up.
She's got a calendar outlining all her intimate encounters with both men, and it's clear there's some major doubt about who the father could be. Mr. Sensabaugh says he was told Miss Brown took a plane to Oklahoma, but her calendar shows she actually drove. Ooh, the lies are piling up.
When I had left California, I went to Oklahoma with my ex, and that's when the calendar comes in.
So after he didn't show up with the leasing office?
I left.
And how soon after you were intimate with Mr. Sensabaugh did you go down to see your ex?
It was soon.
Now, Mr. Sensabaugh says when he found out about the pregnancy, Miss Brown told him he was definitely the father. He even tried to get the baby to come live with him in California, but Miss Brown was worried about his lifestyle. The grandma is also getting emotional, saying her son has had 2 near-death experiences and she just wants the truth to come out.
Even lied about something else because I was told she took a plane to Oklahoma, and then when she got off the plane, she was throwing up, I guess, experiencing morning sickness. Now here we go, you drove?
Greg knew.
You told me. I don't know what you told Greg or what he knew.
I never told you that I took a plane to Oklahoma.
But wait, it gets even crazier. Miss Brown admits to a whole timeline of lies, including buying a DNA test and then not sending in the sample for months, just to string these poor people along. And then, get this, she allegedly told Mr. Sensabaugh's mom that she swabbed one of her other kids instead, just to make sure he wasn't the father. Wow, talk about playing games with people's lives.
You didn't talk to me until after you had your baby. That made me conclude that you didn't want to talk to nobody or say nothing so you could see who the baby resembled, so you can put that baby on somebody, and it just happened to be my son.
Mr. Sensabaugh's mom, Miss Montoya, is really feeling the weight of this situation. She says her son has been shot multiple times and she's worried he might not make it. She just wants to know if this little girl is her grandchild, so her 91-year-old grandmother can be a part of her life. But Miss Brown seems to be making it as difficult as possible.
All my children equally and dearly. That's not either, because regardless of his, like I explained to you, regardless of his lifestyle, I would have been the primary responsible person.
And you ain't had the
You're
best lifestyle over there.
You're not the primary responsible person when we were sleeping together, so how can I take your word for that?
Oh, and get this. Miss Brown even tried to get Mr. Sensabaugh's mom to stop posting pictures of the baby on social media, saying it was causing her problems. But then it turns out Mr. Sensabaugh was the one who made and posted those pictures, not Miss Montoya. Talk about a tangled web. Miss Brown is clearly trying to keep this family at arm's length, but they're determined to get to the bottom of this.
Back in the butt, I got shot. So after that, it made me think, like, what if the baby was mine? Like, what if
you
that's my
woke
baby?
up thinking about Malaya?
Yes.
And did you call Miss Brown and say?
No, I called his mother. I contacted his mother.
No, our first line of communication was you calling him to tell him that the baby was his.
All right, the moment of truth is finally here. The DNA results are in, and the judge is about to reveal whether Mr. Sensabaugh is the father of little Malaya. The tension is palpable. You can practically feel it through the screen.
Mr. Sensabaugh, you are not her father. Ms. Brown, you look relieved. Ms. Montoya, you look crushed.
It's not about being crushed. At the end of the day, I really want him to go on with his life, get married, have a baby, and be able to be in that baby's life from birth.
And I wish the best for him and his future.
Miss Anthony and Mr. Pourciau had a casual, party-focused relationship, but things got complicated when Miss Anthony ended up pregnant. She initially told Mr. Pourciau the child was his, but then later claimed it belonged to her ex-boyfriend. This led to a whole mess of confusion and hurt feelings.
You claim you had a short-term relationship with the defendant, Mr. Pourciau, who was initially excited when you told him you were pregnant. But now you are furious he is denying your 8-month-old son, Matthew. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pourciau, you say you've never taken Ms. Anthony seriously, and she herself confessed to sleeping with other men during the time of conception.
It's clear Miss Anthony was in a tough spot. She was young, scared, and didn't think Mr. Pourciau was ready to be a dad. But lying about the paternity was a big mistake that ended up causing a lot of drama down the line. Mr. Pourciau was understandably upset that he was denied the chance to be involved with his potential child from the start. The fact that Miss Anthony was also sleeping with other men during their relationship didn't help matters either.
I could tell he wasn't the father.
Her ex-boyfriend was the father, that she was pregnant before she met me.
And now you say he's denying the baby, but you admit to telling him he wasn't the father.
Yes, ma'am, I did, and I understand that was me being in the wrong. That was 100%. Most of this is my fault.
Things got even more complicated when Mr. Pourciau ended up marrying his husband, Michael. Michael then got involved, claiming that Miss Anthony had directly told him the baby wasn't Mr. Pourciau's. The he said, she said was enough to make your head spin. It's clear these two had a very messy, dysfunctional relationship that was full of lies, partying, and broken trust.
Or have a child.
But it was a sexual relationship.
Yes, it was.
Were you using protection?
No, Your Honor, we were not. And he was there, so that's why I'm mainly upset. You were there for the 25 minutes of pleasure. Well, it's been 9 months. It's been 9 months, and I bought every diaper. I bought every
if I was
formula.
The real kicker was when Michael showed up with evidence. Photos of Miss Anthony and Mr. Pourciau together during the window of conception. This directly contradicted Miss Anthony's story that she had told Mr. Pourciau the child wasn't his. The court was not impressed by her attempts to backtrack and claim she was just trying to do what was best for the baby at the time.
I can't do this. My son deserves better, or my child, when I didn't know it was a boy, but my child deserved better than this. I don't know what to do.
After she took the test, she looked me dead in my face and was like, it's not yours.
That is a lie, and you know it. Don't be lying up in this courtroom.
I ain't got no reason to lie.
No. Let me finish.
But
I laid down and I thought about it, and I realized that this man ain't gonna do nothing but party.
Mr. Pourciau was clearly emotional about the whole situation, especially since he had been raised in the foster care system himself. You could tell he really wanted to be a good dad and provide stability for this child if the baby was indeed his. The fact that he hadn't even met the little boy yet was heartbreaking.
That was actually April. It was the first week of April was my conception time. That was April 4th.
All right.
When that picture.
First picture, you two look happy together.
We were.
Cute couple, April 4th, 2015. Is that the window of conception?
Yes, ma'am.
When the DNA results finally came in, the reveal was a real shocker.
Mr. Pourciau, you are the father. That's the first time I've seen you smile today, Mr. Pourciau.
This is all he really ever wanted, is to have a child of his own, and specifically a son. So on his end and on my end, basically makes the child my stepchild.
Ms. Robinson is convinced that Mr. Rollins is her daddy, but he's adamant that he's 1000% sure he ain't the one who knocked up her mama, Ms. Palmer. Looks like we've got some serious family drama on our hands, folks. Let's dive right in and see how this one plays out, shall we?
Ms. Robinson, you and your mother have opened your case today in hopes of giving you closure. Yes. You say you've always known the defendant was your father, and his denial has crushed you. Once you prove that he is your dad, you hope he will finally accept you. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
First up, we've got Ms. Robinson taking the stand, and she's got a story that'll tug at your heartstrings. Turns out she's been believing that Mr. Rollins is her pops for the past 24 years, but the guy keeps shutting her down, saying there's no way he's the father. Mama Palmer's been telling her all this time that Mr. Rollins is the one, but he's just not having it.
Miss Palmer, all her life you have been telling her that Mr. Rollins is her biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
You've never told her any other man was her biological father?
No.
And you've never gotten any level of recognition or acknowledgement from him?
No, I haven't.
Now Mr. Rollins, he's got a whole different take on things. This guy is so confident he's not the father, he's willing to bet the house on it. He's throwing around some wild accusations, saying Ms. Palmer was busy with multiple men back in the day, and that's why he's sure he ain't the one.
So, Your Honor, I ran down the stairs. He was in the apartment next to ours putting in furniture. I was like, well, is Doobie here? And they was like, he came out, he was like, well, this mean? So I asked him, I was like, well, are you my father? He was like, no, I'm not your father. I was like, well, my mom telling me you are my father. He was like, well, no, I'm not your father.
Oh, them's fighting words, folks, but hold on, it gets even crazier. Mr. Rollins even brought up some associates of his that he claims Ms. Palmer was getting cozy with. Yikes, talk about messy.
Switching your stories and stuff, that's not right.
I never switched the story.
Okay.
Are you a DNA tester? You don't know.
Okay. Hold on, Mr. Rollins. What you not gonna do? What you not gonna do is be a prosecutor. No, you're not gonna prosecute her because you don't have no law degree.
It seemed like
you're not a prosecutor. What you are, hold on.
Now the real drama starts when Ms. Robinson recalls that time when she was just 9 years old and tried to confront Mr. Rollins, asking him straight up if he was her daddy. But the guy just shut her down, saying, no, I'm not your father. Ouch, that's gotta sting. Ms. Robinson's not holding back, calling him out for not owning up to it, even if he wasn't sure.
Rejecting me because it was all her mother ever told her, right? So what, hold on. I'm listening to you testify, but in that testimony, what I'm not gonna allow you to do is further traumatize this young woman who for 24 years has been looking for her father, believing it was you.
But Mr. Rollins, he's got a whole other story. He claims he just saw this little girl observing him, and he figured there was no way she could be his kid since they don't look alike. This guy's got some serious issues, if you ask me. And the way he's talking about Ms. Palmer's multiple partners, yikes, talk about throwing shade.
But what you are is a possibility. So now listen, Mr. Rollins, I'm not gonna do a verbal dance with you because I'm gonna win that contest every time. So what I'm gonna do, we're not gonna do that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get down to the facts so that we can get this young woman some answers, and you too.
Things really start to heat up when Ms. Robinson brings up that time in 2015 when Mr. Rollins showed up to her baby's first birthday party with a DNA test in hand. Apparently, he wanted them to do the test right then and there, but they realized it wasn't that simple. Guess he's not too familiar with how these DNA tests work, huh?
Tell you.
Verbally stated.
She had multiple parts. She was multitasking.
No, I was not.
You probably would most are tested. I know I would.
You're saying in a polite way she was having sex with more than one man during that time.
Exactly.
And you know that for a fact because these men were associates of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the big bombshell. Ms. Robinson shows the judge a side-by-side photo of Mr. Rollins and his own mama, and lo and behold, the resemblance is uncanny. Looks like Mr. Rollins can't deny the family resemblance anymore. He even admits he sees it now after all this time. Guess he's finally starting to come around, but the damage may already be done, if you ask me.
You don't understand today, I'm not that, but I'm not, I'm sorry. I mean, if I am, I'm gonna hold up to my responsibility.
That's good to know.
Your Honor, when he came there, they was in the kitchen talking, and he gonna say, "Let me see your feet. Your feet do not look like mine." And he said, "Your mama been sleeping with a lot of men."
And just when you think this case couldn't get any more dramatic, the judge drops the mic. The DNA results are in, and you probably won't guess which way this one will go.
Mr. Rollins, you are not the father.
Well,
you are not the father.
Baby, I'm sorry.
It was just my mistake, but I know I didn't sleep with nobody else.
Well, we know that that's a lie. When I read the result and he was not the father.
Miss Baker is suing her husband, Mr. Baker, to prove that their 3-month-old son, Caleb, is his. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not so fast. Mr. Baker claims it's medically impossible for him to be the father, and he's ready to walk away from the family if the DNA results don't go his way. It's a high-stakes situation.
Ms. Baker, you say the fate of your marriage is riding on today's DNA results. You are suing to prove that your 3-month-old son, Caleb, was fathered by your husband, Mr. Baker.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Baker, you say it's medically impossible for you to have a child, and therefore Caleb cannot be yours. You say if the DNA results prove you are not the father, you will leave your wife.
Turns out Mr. Baker had a vasectomy a whopping 23 years ago. Now he's convinced that there's no way he could have fathered this child. But Ms. Baker has a different story. She admits to drinking heavily during the time she got pregnant, and she can't even remember if she was intimate with another man. Uh-oh. This is starting to sound like a real mess.
And we didn't do everything right. And I don't condone the actions that we took in our relationship. I was married, she was married. And whenever you have two people who are in a monogamous relationship come together the way that we did, there's always going to cast doubt on the back of your mind.
Now, Mr. Baker's got some trust issues of his own. Apparently, Ms. Baker had a little spending problem in the past, and she even went on the Oprah Winfrey Show to talk about it. Mr. Baker's worried that if she could lie about that, who's to say she's not lying about this too? Looks like these two have some serious baggage to unpack.
There were spending issues that were taking place in the marriage that he didn't know about. And I mean, to the point where, that had put her in national limelight because she was overspending behind his back.
But wait, there's more. Mr. Baker reveals that he and Ms. Baker actually met while they were both still married to other people. Yep, you heard that right. They had an affair that led to this whole situation. No wonder there's so much doubt and mistrust in this relationship. These two really didn't start off on the right foot.
Not cheated on Mr. Baker, Your Honor. There's no recollection of anything ever happening to me while I was drinking, but just that thing in the back of my mind just keeps going, did something happen to me and I just don't remember.
So the truth is that you don't really remember. You don't recall because of the drinking.
Correct, Your Honor.
As the case unfolds, we learn that when Ms. Baker first found out she was pregnant, she was convinced she had ovarian cancer instead. Can you imagine the roller coaster of emotions she must have been going through? Thankfully, it turned out to be a pregnancy, but that didn't make things any less complicated.
So since it's been 23 years after a vasectomy, you've got to question, is it even possible for me to even conceive a child?
When you found out you were pregnant, you told your husband.
Well, what happened is I noticed I was getting a little bit of a belly.
Now the court brings in an expert witness, Dr. Gator, to shed some light on the whole vasectomy situation. Turns out, even though Mr. Baker had the procedure done over 20 years ago, there's still a slim chance, about 1.5%, that he could have fathered this child. Whoa, who would have thought?
So you thought for a minute that this
Absolutely.
was cancer.
Yes, Your Honor. I let her sleep through the night. I didn't sleep a week. Went to work the next day. She calls me up at 11 o'clock crying hysterically. And I said, honey, what's wrong? She says, I'm not pregnant.
Ms. Baker is clinging to that 1.5% chance, convinced that this is a miracle from God. She's been sober since finding out she was pregnant, and she's determined to make this work. But Mr. Baker, he's still struggling with the idea of trusting his wife, especially after all the drama in their past.
Forget it. And we threw the package away. And then 6 months later, we regretted that we threw it away and we ordered a second one. And then we went through the same process again, and regrettably, we threw away that second one.
And now your wife is pregnant.
You know, my attitude is very simple. It better be a miracle from God.
As the judge tries to navigate this tangled web of emotions, it's clear that there's a lot more at stake than just the paternity of this child. These two have been through the ringer, and their entire family is hanging in the balance. Will the DNA results finally bring them the clarity they need, or will this case leave more questions than answers?
Mr. Baker, you are the father.
Thank you. I love you too.
You know, this is a courtroom where very special things happen, right, bro? But this, I must say,
it's just been a very tough road.
All right, paternity peeps, here we go again in the world of he said, she said. Miss Smith was on a mission to prove that Mr. Hopkins was the dad of her little one, Kamaya. But surprise, surprise, Mr. Hopkins ain't buying it, and he's demanding a DNA test. Oh, and he's also trying to get back $2,500 in childcare expenses.
Your Honor, I done do birthday parties for Kamaya. Her second birthday party I threw for her. I provided shoes, clothes for her. You see what I'm saying, Your Honor?
You supposed to do that.
Yeah, I'm supposed to, but at the same time, if we in the
That's
middle
what
of
a real
argument,
man do. He don't sit and deny and complain about
if we in the
taking
middle of
care
an
of the
argument, ain't no real woman go throw up, oh yeah, she ain't yours. Every time we argue, you know what I'm saying?
Here come Miss Smith's argument tactics, and her go-to move, telling him Kamaya might not be his kid during arguments. Real mature, right? However, according to their relationship history, during the conception window, Miss Smith had a little slip-up with her ex during that time. And guess what? Her ex even sent Mr. Hopkins a letter claiming to be Kamaya's father. What a drag!
Let's go to your next piece of evidence, Mr. Hopkins. This picture says, and it's also from the ex, Daddy's baby girl, Kamaya.
He know that's his baby. He the one named Kamaya.
Yes.
But this man is claiming her.
Your Honor, we both agreed on that she was gonna have my last name too. What happened to that, Miss Smith?
What? Miss Smith's ex hasn't been kicked out of the Who's the Daddy Club by a DNA test just yet. Oh boy. But hold on to your doubts, folks, as if things weren't dramatic enough, there was another twist in the case that was sure to make baby mama's antics raise their eyebrows high.
I had a C-section with Kamaya, so I was, off a lot of meds, and I didn't know that he was gonna put his name down on that.
So your ex put his name down on Kamaya's birth certificate? I had a baby too. I don't remember being so high that somebody was gonna come into a hospital and sign my child's birth certificate claiming they were the father.
That's right, Judge Lake. We all better investigate the situation. But as a leopard doesn't change its spots, Miss Smith said she's not playing games with both men and swears Mr. Hopkins was the dad. But things get complicated when they start talking about when she got pregnant. That's got Mr. Hopkins wondering if everything adds up.
Mr. Hopkins, you say Kamaya was born when?
October 15th.
And you were on an involuntary extended stay when?
I say like around the end of January, beginning of February.
Based on this calendar, you do understand that you're not excluded being a possible father. You understand that, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh boy, here comes the star witness, Mr. Hopkins' mom, Shirley Washup. She's got quite the tale to tell about Miss Smith's alleged wandering eye. And guess what? She even saw Miss Smith cozying up with another guy right around the time Kamaya was supposedly conceived. Get your popcorn ready, because this testimony is getting juicier by the minute.
Be a lie.
Tell the truth.
No,
I was not
at no Applebee's.
Okay, so now go ahead, Miss Margaret.
And you know what? I tried not to get in my kid. I got other sons. And my son done went through this before. He wanted a baby so bad. He done had a girl try to put a baby on him before when he was on extended vacation. I ain't got no room to take care of no kids, because I already got 8 or 9 of my own, plus 15, 20 grandkids.
Well, what a surprise, folks. Mr. Hopkins' mom played the protective parent card. Mr. Hopkins was losing sleep over how the chaos might mess up his relationship with Kamaya and the upcoming baby. But just a video? There's the emotional touch added like sugar, spice, and everything nice by the baby mama.
What's his name?
Baba.
What?
So cute. And so your concern, Miss Smith, is that the results could potentially ruin that relationship your beautiful daughter has with the man she believes is her father.
That she know all her life, the man that named her.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, guys. Both parties are given one last chance to spill the beans before the big reveal of those oh-so-mysterious DNA results. Fasten your seatbelts as the tensions were running high. Here's how it went down.
Mr. Hopkins, you are not Kamaya's father.
It's gonna be all right, baby.
I'm sorry.
That's all you gotta say is you sorry. You need to tell her you sorry, man. For real. Not me, huh?
In a surprising turn of events, Mr. Hopkins' mother returns to the paternity court for round 2, this time for her son's second child's trial. However, there's a shocking twist. Mr. Hopkins himself is absent from the proceedings. Any guesses for the reason behind his absence? A heartbreaking revelation that he has passed away since the first paternity test.
Ms. Washup, you previously appeared in this courtroom with your son regarding the paternity of the defendant's daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Previous time you were in this courtroom,
Yes.
It was determined that your son was not the child's biological father. A few weeks after I sent you away for that prenatal test, your son was tragically killed.
Yes.
I'm very sorry.
So guys, we're back in the drama-filled paternity court, and with us, Miss Smith's also back, claiming Mr. Hopkins is the dad of her toddler, Jovan Jr. She's all about those DNA results today. But hold your hats, because Mr. Hopkins' mom, Miss Washup, was here casting doubt left and right.
There's a part of you that wants
Yes.
this baby to be your grandchild.
Sure do. I still have a part of him here. And I know he wanted his son, he wanted one, and hopefully this is his, and I'll feel at ease. But I don't want to be attached, and then you just up and snatch him out of my life anytime you pleases.
Well, our alleged granny did share her hope that the child is her grandchild, and she still feels a connection to her late son through the child. Talk about a psychic testimony! However, Miss Washup mentions her reluctance to get attached to the child due to uncertainty. Well, we can't blame her after the first test results.
I didn't even know she had the baby until I seen pictures on Facebook, like when he was like 2-3 months old.
So when you did go into labor, Miss Smith, and you know for certain that this is your child's family, you didn't call and say, I just want to let you know I'm going into the hospital?
Actually, I called her and gave her the wrong date that I was having a C-section.
On purpose?
On purpose.
On purpose, yes, I did.
Seems like the baby mama might need a memory jog on what happened last time. It's like an unwanted guest that just won't leave. But hold on tight, because it looks like Judge Lake had a key to the attic, ready to dust off those old memories.
The last time we were here, the child that they thought was Jovan's biological child,
swear to God, I thought that
they
was.
were unfortunately informed it was not. So you do have to understand that there may be a tad bit of fear going into this, that we are hoping and praying that history doesn't repeat itself. What happened before set the table for this.
Oh, the defendant sure had some creative dodging tactics up their sleeve. But wait, as we dug deeper into the testimony, it all boiled down to the classics: money and social status. Looks like we've got a front row seat in this financial and social security scene.
I don't call and ask nobody for nothing. I handle my child on my own, all my kids.
You
So,
could, it's just as well she
I mean, I
told me
want
his name.
money. Where it's at?
Call like Social Security, like you didn't call
Let me
Social
get
Security.
it. I called Social Security yesterday. I did do that. I'm finna have his baby next month, so I don't need pamper. I don't need milk. I don't need clothes, huh? Exactly.
Yeah, you need
Come
it.
on now, get it
And
together.
when
The judge had to drop a reminder bomb on Miss Smith about kids needing families, as both sides weren't going easy on each other. As our defendant was not too keen on dealing with Miss Washup, for her, it's all about protecting the little one from the heartache of his dad's passing. Aw, that was just sad.
If you go have the beat, then tell it. You in the courtroom. You're not standing in here acting like you hair flipping, mama crying about her son being dead. You rolling your eyes like you can't understand why. And I know you in here being disingenuous because there's no way in the world a mother can do that to another mother that's lost a child. And that's why I looked at you and said, why? What's going on here?
With ample testimony in the books, it was high time for the paternity puzzle to be solved and put this blame game to rest. After all that drama and finger-pointing wasn't doing anything good for the baby's well-being. So brace yourselves for the grand finale, the DNA results.
Mr. Hopkins
Is the father. Go on and say it, I'm ready.
is the father.
Thank you, baby.
That's your grandchild. Miss Smith, you've come to this courtroom to prove and to show that your assertion is true. That is Jovan's biological child.
Keep your volume up for this one. Miss Allen's like, I hope the DNA magic can finally prove Adriana's dad is Mr. Brewer, and we can all live happily ever after. But hold on to that fairy tale, viewers. Mr. Brewer's got his medical degree from the School of Doubts, saying it's impossible he's the dad. Stay tuned to see if science can untangle this mess.
So tell me why you have this doubt.
One day her phone went off and I was like, what's going on, you know? So I ended up looking at the phone. And when I looked at the phone, it was one of her friends' name. But when I started reading, it wasn't no friend.
Oh.
It was another man. So.
And what did the text message say?
One of the text messages that I read was like, you know, I don't want to wear a condom.
Mr. Brewer's got his detective hat on, claiming he stumbled upon some fishy text messages on Miss Allen's phone, hinting at some secret rendezvous with other fellas. But wait, Miss Allen isn't the one to back down. She fires back, accusing Mr. Brewer of his own suspicious late-night chats with an old flame during her pregnancy. The drama just keeps on coming.
So you playing a game for tit for tat, but you keep losing. You know I say it every time. We don't win that game. We never win that. If you get to the point where there's too many girls on this phone, then you just gotta be done. Because playing the game of tit for tat leads you smack dab where you are, paternity court.
Well, it was getting heated. Miss Allen's not having any of Mr. Brewer's doubts, insisting she's as pure as the driven snow and didn't do anything he's accusing her of. But then, things take a wild turn when Mr. Brewer drops the bombshell about a supposed video of Miss Allen getting busy with other guys during a work break. Drama alert!
Your Honor, that is a lie. Like I told him, show me the proof, because I want to see for myself. He wouldn't show me, so I have no idea what he's talking about. And I asked myself, which female told you that? So I can tell her to show me. And he wouldn't tell me. I'm not gonna say nothing, I'm not gonna tell you. And he just making that stuff up in his head, because he'd have been hurt before. And he felt like since he'd been hurt before that he can't trust nobody.
Oh, the flashbacks begin. Miss Allen takes us on a trip down memory lane, vividly recounting the pregnancy and Adriana's grand entrance. She makes sure to highlight Mr. Brewer's initial enthusiasm. But Mr. Brewer's not one to stay quiet. He's got his own story, explaining how Miss Allen's fiery words during an argument only added more fuel to his doubts about paternity.
Her previous pregnancy, she had like the problems with, you know, where she was having false contractions and stuff like that.
Okay.
I said, if you really having trouble, you know, I'm gonna go ahead and take me a shower. Just wait till I get out the shower. And I said, we'll go, I'll take you. So.
And that's just one thing you had to learn that a man can't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Oh boy, the truth comes out. Miss Allen admits she dropped a doubt bomb about Adriana's paternity during a heated argument. But Mr. Brewer's not letting go of his doubts. And now he's Sherlock Holmesing it with blood types. Look what he had to say. OMG.
So you submitted a chart to the court that shows Miss Allen's blood type is O negative, your blood type is O negative, your older child's blood type is O negative, but Adriana's blood type is A. And you believe that it is impossible for two people, O negative blood type, to have a child that has a blood type of A.
Hey, Mr. Brewer, hold your horses. Dr. Samantha, our expert in the house, dropped some knowledge bombs about blood types. So instead of playing the blood type detective, maybe it's time to listen to the OG doctor and see what science has to say about this.
Two O-type parents traditionally cannot make anything other than an O baby. However, there's spontaneous mutation. Once it's combined in the baby, something goes a little different and it starts producing those antigens that are on the outside of the blood cell, hence making the child a different blood type.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Ooh, the suspense was real. Dr. Parks, our scientific guru, dropped a truth bomb. She's like, hey folks, spontaneous mutations might be rare, but they can mess with blood types. And just like that, it was the last puzzle piece before the DNA results. Get ready for that big reveal.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Brewer, you are the father. Are you happy?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor. I'm excited, you know. That's my baby. I got 2 babies.
Well, isn't this a real roller coaster? We've got Miss Alexander and her daughter showing up in court because her son had doubts about being a baby's daddy. But wait, just when things were heating up, he goes and dies in an accident 2 weeks later. Talk about timing. And apparently, he'd already contacted the court for a DNA test.
Well, Your Honor, I came here on behalf of Nicholas. He had started this process about 2 weeks before he died, had called the court for a paternity test.
Your son had reached out to paternity court.
He certainly did.
Because he had an issue he wanted to resolve here.
Absolutely.
In the unfolding scenario, Miss Alexander reveals that during the baby's birth, there were initial concerns regarding its paternity. Surprisingly, Nicholas, her son, embraced the child and even cradled him in his arms. However, doubts began to creep into his mind.
Nick, I felt like was playing 2 sides. He would say that, you know, he was sure about it, but then at the same time, he wasn't sure. You know what I mean? I felt like he just knew that me and my mother wasn't going to just jump the gun just like he did. You know what I mean?
Okay.
As far as accepting William.
Well. In this juicy tale, Miss Alexander believes Nicholas tried to be a responsible father. But guess what? Miss Jackson couldn't get that paternity test because Nicholas refused to cooperate without a child support case. It turns out Miss Jackson had dropped hints about other possible baby daddies. Talk about a can of worms.
Are you certain as you stand here today that the father out of those 2 possibilities would be Nicholas?
Yes, I felt in my heart that Nick is my baby father. He also felt that. I have never told them that it was more than 2 people. It's always been him and the other dude. Because I did have a one-night stand with the other dude a couple of weeks before my birthday, and I did indeed sleep with Nick the day after my birthday.
Not only does the defendant have her own drama, but she brings in her big mama to add fuel to the fire and take sides. Mama claims that the deceased son himself signed the birth certificate. But wait a minute, our plaintiff isn't one to stay quiet. She's got a twist to spin in this tale.
She never came to me and said that. Nick never came to me and said that. I was really unaware that this is how she felt until today.
Nick didn't sign the birth certificate.
He had to have his ID to sign the birth certificate. He never took it back up there.
But he called his mama too, and I told him
I never did say he gonna call the birthday. He didn't sign the birth certificate.
He
might have called you. He might have did.
Miss Jackson defends naming the baby William and gives some insight into a relationship with Nicholas. But the judge ain't buying it. Why didn't she name the baby DeAndre Jackson if she wanted to keep Nicholas out of it?
Nick wanted responsibility. He did.
She never
He
asked
took
Nick
it.
for nothing.
He brought 2 of his best friends with him to the hospital, and both of them have kids. And Nick always wanted to be in the club with them.
Excuse me.
He always wanted to be
I wanted my baby
With
name
him?
to be different. I didn't want his name to be William. His
And she
original
never asked
name
him
was
for
supposed to
anything.
be DeAndre.
Well, my mind was already startled by the constant back and forth allegations. One thing's for sure in this courtroom. Blaming never wins you any score. So why don't we just cut to the chase and focus on the DNA results? Bring some closure to not just the mommy standing here, but to the deceased soul as well.
It has been determined that Mr. Nicholas Alexander is not the father.
I wish it would have been different too, April.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats because we're about to dive headfirst into the dramatic world of paternity disputes. The plaintiff had quite a long history with the defendant, but even more were her equally strange circumstances. While the daddy was sure he was the father, the daughter, not so much.
Mr. Fagan, you claim you kept this secret for 40 years, but now say the DNA will prove your case.
That's right, Your Honor.
Ms. Pinkston, you stand before me without any doubt that Mr. Fagan is not your biological father, and the man who raised you is.
Yes, ma'am. Picture this. A 16-year-old Miss Pinkston, blissfully unaware, everything seeming a-okay. Then bam, she was introduced to Mr. Fagan, a family friend, who, mind you, claimed to be her father. But here's the twist. She spent her whole life believing another man was her father.
One day, my mom decided to take me with her to a friend's house. My mom calls me to the dining room. She goes, I want you to meet somebody. They get to talking to me, Mr. Fagan, and my mom. Then my mom just out says, hey, by the way, this is your father.
Who did you think your father was? Did you know your father?
This is my father.
Now let's talk about the baby daddy's perspective. He and the mom had an affair. Wait a second. While she was married to Mr. Pinkston. Wowza. They agreed to keep it hush-hush. Can you feel the betrayal in the air? I sure can.
The only reason why this all came out for the cat to get out the bag is when I was 16, they told me that Kenny was my father. The only reason why was because my mom thought I was dating one of his family members, and that's why they told me. But needless to say, it was not me, it's my sister that was dating his family member.
Imagine the confusion in the Pinkston household. One day, Miss Pinkston believes Mr. Pinkston is her dad. The next day, she's told it's actually Mr. Fagan. The emotional roller coaster is enough to make anyone's head spin. And the plaintiff was even sure the other guy knew he was the actual father. Say what?
He used to come out to the house when my dad was alive. And
Mr. Fagan used to come to your house when your dad was alive?
Yeah.
I did. The secret was still on.
The secret was still on?
Yes.
And so you just come by the house, but
Well,
you were really coming by to see Miss Pinkston?
Well, I was hopefully that she was there, and so I could see her.
Evidence alert. I repeat, evidence alert. Birth certificates and secret keeping galore. Here we come. Miss Pinkston's birth certificate proudly names Mr. Gus Pinkston Jr. as her father. Why, you may wonder? Well, to keep up the charade.
Gus Pinkston Jr.
Correct, that's my father.
We had her believe that too. She wanted to keep this a secret, her mom. I could have brought this out, but due to her wishes, being married, which is wrong, we did this, Your Honor, reluctantly. I did. I went through this. I mean, it hurts to this day to hear her call him father.
So, imagine this. Dad's funeral, a few days after he kicked the bucket. The whole family gathered at Mom's place. And there came the plaintiff, uninvited to the emotional party. Uh-oh! He decided that was the perfect time to drop the bombshell. Talk about crashing a family event, right?
I always knew that she felt Gus was her father. As bad as I wanted her to feel me, I never got that from her. And actually, to this day, I do not have that from her because she does believe he is her father, which I believe this is, and I know this is my daughter, Your Honor. It's in my heart, and I know she is.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the DNA results will finally put this 43-year-long family feud to rest. About time. Was Mr. Fagan the biological father or not? Well, brace yourselves for the courtroom drama that could rival any season finale.
Mr. Fagan.
Yes.
You are not her father.
Oh my God.
Oh, Lord, no.
Oh,
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Welcome to another twisted tale of paternity roller coasters. Two sisters brought the defendant to court, each claiming him to be Daddy Dearest. But hold on to your DNA tests, folks, because their mom, Miss Willis, decided to drop a truth bomb recently. Come on, let's get this party started.
Mr. Moore, you are 100% certain that these are your daughters and the DNA test will prove it. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Willis, you admit you intended to take this secret to your grave and came clean to your daughters only because your sister forced you to admit the truth. Is that true?
Yes, Your Honor.
Time to rewind a bit. Miss Monica and Miss Shawanda grew up thinking Mr. Moore was their pops. They had a seemingly solid family dynamic. Mr. Moore played the role of doting dad for over 2 decades. Sadly, that didn't last long, as Mommy set other plans in motion.
He's the only man I ever knew, so it was kind of hurtful, to go to him about the situation, because he is a good father. He always been around, I always knew him to be my father.
When did it come up again?
It came up frequently. Like every time, my auntie, she like the house where everybody come to. And my family is like blunt. They say what they want to say.
Apparently, the plaintiff ended up hearing some family gossip about her dad not being her real dad. Not something one likes to hear, right? She confronted her mom, and after some initial denial, the beans were finally spilled.
He's the only man that we ever knew. Even with my mother, my mother didn't get another boyfriend until after I was grown. So he's been here the whole time.
And that's how you plan to keep it?
Yes, I was.
So this entire situation was by design?
Right.
And so you say you would have taken this secret to your grave?
Now, let's delve straight into the emotional turmoil. Mr. Moore thought he was their father. He had been there for them, playing their dad role like a champ. And ta-da! Miss Willis shattered his trust into tiny little pieces. Doubts and betrayal festered, casting a shadow over the family bonds to this day.
Ms. Willis, I want to ask you, what happened during the relationship that you believe another man is Monica's biological father?
I had an affair.
You had an affair.
So she said it was a one-night stand.
It was a one-night stand.
Our relatives, it was an ongoing situation.
That's what you always go wrong. This to other people instead of her mother.
Well, you never told us anything. We wouldn't be here today.
Hold on tight, because we've got evidence. Birth certificates don't lie, right? Well, baby mama had Mr. Moore's name on Monica's birth certificate, and he even cut the umbilical cord. Wow, talk about complicating things beyond measure. But it gets messier with withheld names and doubts thrown into the mix. Woman had no heart.
Did you ever tell the other man we're pregnant and it possibly could be his child?
No.
You didn't tell him? So he does not know?
No.
To this day?
No.
You believe Monica is his biological child?
He possibly have a beautiful daughter.
He don't know it.
31 years later.
No, he don't know. Never knew.
He don't have the
He
right.
don't even know she exists.
Whew, now that's hurtful.
The confusion was about to hit its peak as the conception calendar was thrown into the mix as well. Miss Willis had an affair, and it did coincide with the conception dates. Oh no! And this news was brought to us through Mommy's sister. My, that's some sister.
Do you know who Monica's father is?
Yeah. She been knowing for a long time. She ain't just met this man. She been knowing this man.
Did you discuss this with your sister?
I always tell her to tell him. Why don't you tell him before they get too old? Now they in their 30s and 20s, and she's still standing up there like she don't know what I'm talking about. This ain't the first time we had this conversation. We had it all the time.
Time for the big reveal. Drum roll, please. Will Monica's DNA test drop a bombshell or not? We're about to find out. But hold the phone, because Shawanda's results could also flip the script as well. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster, folks, because this case is far from over. Here we go.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Moore, you are not her father. It has been determined by this court, Mr. Moore, you are her father.
Hold on to those gavels, paternity peeps, because we've got a 14-year marriage that's been tossed into the ring of uncertainty and doubt. Miss Sowers was crying foul, labeling Miss Roten all sorts of colorful names, while she also dished out the same to her. Well, it's gonna be one bumpy ride, so better buckle up.
Me and Adam have been married for 14 years. She has tried to destroy my marriage. She's tried to put this baby off on Adam, saying it's his baby. She's tried to file child support papers, which I have right here.
That you asked for.
And you know, the strange thing about it is isn't that something?
Let's set the stage, shall we? Miss Sowers accused Miss Roten of being a homewrecker of epic proportions. But hold on to that moral compass for a while, because Miss Roten was standing her ground, and she was convinced that Mr. Sowers was baby Aiden's papa.
He was just being charming and trying to be nice and friendly, extra friendly.
What do you mean by extra friendly?
Like
Making
just
the couch
like
look good.
saying I'm beautiful and just all kinds of sweet stuff, like trying to, get in my head.
He just says a few nice things to you and then you end up having sex with him?
It was a lot more than that.
Next up, we have Miss Sowers shedding light on her married life for 14 years. When suddenly, boom! The mistress dropped the bomb that her hubby might have fathered a little bundle of joy. The reaction? Well, let's just say it was less happy baby news and more you're ruining my life vibes.
You just chilling out at your house and someone says, you know your husband's down the street.
Yes, because he was missing a lot, and I wondered where he was.
With me.
Yeah, and he was at her house.
Oh, so he was missing all night?
Show up at my house 3 o'clock in the morning.
So, he would show up at your house at 3 a.m.?
Oh yeah, all times of night. Just come in and get in bed with me.
Miss Sowers, at a dramatic twist, wasn't exactly high-fiving anyone over this revelation. He got more doubt than a Game of Thrones fan waiting for that last book to drop. He's feeling betrayed, hurt, and was probably wondering if he'd slipped into an alternate universe where he's suddenly a daddy.
Mr. Sowers, what are you thinking as you're on the couch with your mistress and your wife barges in? What are you thinking?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Wow is right, baby. Wow
Highly blown away on that tip. But
You were blown away?
yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
Oh dear, could this drama get any more strange? Finally, we see how this happy news reached the ears of the wifey. Apparently, the news didn't reach her. Rather, she reached the news, just like she found out about where the mistress lived. Sneaky.
One day, I come back to the house, and Adam's car was there. I walked in again. There was a guy on a couch, another guy on a couch, and that door was closed. There was something going on in there.
Yeah, it was
so
you and your husband.
I opened the door, and there was a guy on top of her, and I shut the door.
What in the world?
Well, the wife still maintained the claim that there were other possibilities, and there were quite a few of them. However, the defendant still kept denying. Moreover, the baby daddy, it seemed, was also at the hospital at the time of birth. Let's see how that went.
You called me about 2:30 and said, I'm going into labor. I had told the nurse, I said, we're here. Chrissy said, I don't want her in the room.
You're not welcome in my room.
But you called and bring your...
Oh, wait a minute.
No, I did not.
Your husband's mistress calls you to tell you that his baby with her is on the way.
Yes.
No matter, these gals argued like crazy. But wait a minute, there was even more of a twist to the story. By the looks of it, the baby mama had not been so truthful about her birth control. Well, we know how she got into this paternity mess in the first place now, right folks?
You're saying, Mr. Sowers, Ms. Roten said to you, don't worry, I'm on the pill.
Honest
I
to
put it
God,
on my
true.
son's life. I've never said that.
How this just went on for this long, and it seems like everybody was informed, but it just kept happening. Are you all working on your marriage now, Ms. Sowers?
Are doing awesome. We're doing
Thank
better
you.
than
Thank
ever.
God.
Get ready, people. Some cringe-worthy content coming right up. It seems just judging the features of the baby wasn't enough for these guys. They had to take it up a notch higher. And then there was a poll on who's the daddy. Yeah, you heard that absolutely right.
Now this is unbelievable.
Yeah, that doesn't even make sense to me. Yeah, that
And
doesn't
guess
even
what?
make sense to me.
The town did a poll.
Yeah.
Where did you see this poll?
Oh, it's all over. It's all over Facebook. The whole, everybody knows about everything.
It's a social media poll.
Yes.
Well, we got to see new ranges of absurdities and stupidity with this one. All thanks to these guys. But a real baby's fate was at stake here, and it was time to reveal the contents of the envelope that held the results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Sowers, you are the father.
Thank you. Have a nice life. What? Nobody's sleeping around, baby. Go ahead.
Paying child support for a kid who's not even yours is like buying a ticket to a concert for a band you don't even like. And you don't want to have that experience, right? Well, Mr. Portis was in quite a similar situation, He'd been paying child support for Miss Middlebrooks' daughter, whom he believes is not his.
It started about 2 years ago. I started paying child support, $75 for this baby, and I never knew if she was mine or not. We never took a DNA test. We tried to, but it didn't go through.
Don't you have to get a DNA before you can be put on child support?
We went
you
together.
didn't show up to court twice.
It was once.
You paying child support for this baby?
Yes. Thousands of dollars.
But you say you've never had a DNA test?
No.
According to Miss Middlebrooks, she became pregnant a few months into her relationship with Mr. Portis. However, Mr. Portis denies paternity and claims that they stopped communicating shortly after she became pregnant. But wait right there, as our plaintiff did mention another dude in the picture.
What was your relationship with this other guy?
We were dating.
When?
Before Brian Portis.
So you dated him before you dated Mr. Portis?
Yes.
But when you met
and
Mr.
then he went away and we broke up.
He went away, you all broke up, then you started dating Mr. Portis?
Yes.
How soon after you and Mr. Portis started dating did you find out you were pregnant?
A month or two later.
A month?
Did you just hear what she said? How old are you people? Judging by the looks, they ain't old enough to decide that. However, Mr. Portis mentioned a letter sent to his ex-boyfriend by Miss Middlebrooks claiming that he's not the father. One wonders why the rush, you ask. Well, now her aunt is coming to the rescue.
I took her to the hospital. She found out she was like a month pregnant. The other guy that they talking about, a letter did go out to him and she told him that she was pregnant and he's not the father. And we didn't know anything about this guy here. We only knew about the other guy at the time.
But wait, Miss Middlebrooks, you knew about this guy, Mr. Portis, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Auntie. A friendly reminder, just a little tint of your testimony will not help Miss Middlebrooks win fans. You'll gotta do better than that. For instance, when Judge Lake asked Mr. Portis about the pregnancy, it looks like this session took a turn towards the south.
I didn't really believe her at first, honestly.
Why do you think she'd lie?
I don't know.
Unfold your arms.
I don't know, Your Honor. I don't know why she would lie. I didn't believe it at the time.
So you didn't believe it?
No.
When did it become real?
I pulled up to her. I pulled up to her house one day and I saw that she had a little bump, so I knew it was real.
Oh, so wait.
Turn your volumes down, ladies and gentlemen. This ain't your backyard. Well, these allegations are going to take us anywhere other than despair. But hold on to those mobile screens, paternity peeps, as our Mr. Portis here explains the climax of his doubts. Oh, man.
Her ex that she was dealing with had contacted me on Facebook. He was basically saying, like, Jasmine, does she have you on child support and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, she does. He was like, that's crazy because I'm taking care of her too. So it's like, he was in her life, like, he was there, like, holding her and, you know what I'm saying, having a relationship with her.
But you were the one on child support.
Well, this drama just keeps on getting better and better. When the aunt was asked when Miss Middlebrooks found out she was pregnant, she was labeled as being the father. She said something that made us all jump to the conclusion. What an emotional wreck!
Was there some point where you told Mr. Portis that he was not the biological father?
No, I never told him he was not the dad.
Did she ever tell you you were not the dad, Mr. Portis?
Yes, Your Honor. She told me that I wasn't the biological father. She told me to stay out their life, don't talk to her, don't be in Ava's life, don't do none of that.
I told you if you're gonna jump in and out, you might as well stay away.
Therefore, I stopped talking to them, I don't talk to them, I don't do none of that.
Oh, wow. There's no way they can come back from this one. And with all that testimony recorded, Judge Lake finally gets to play scientist and read out the DNA results. Amidst all the chaos, of course. It was the only way to bring closure to this lovely little dispute between lovebirds.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Portis, you are the father. You are Ava's father.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That is your beautiful little girl.
Appreciate it.
The paranoia in this one was real. Mr. Burns believed a woman was trapping him into paying child support for a baby he believed was not his. What? However, he might be delusional, but his concern was she was already pregnant when they were on a first date. Let's find out.
John, I haven't done much because I don't believe that Mime is my son. But I'm still trying to do things like I invite them over to come and, you know, chill, watch movies or...
You don't invite me over.
I
tell you. And why are you inviting him over if he's not your child?
I mean, she often, you know...
4-month-old baby don't want to watch a movie. 4-month-old baby.
It's not because...
Now, isn't that a new one? Yeah. Right, you don't want to sign the birth certificate, but you do want to invite him over for some Netflix and chill? Looks like you want to make the baby a free pass to be with baby mama. Come on. Just listen to Miss Jarquin's brother. he might explain it to you better.
I'm saying that I've been with my sister 24/7. I was there since she met him. Ever since they got together and I found out that she was pregnant, she said it in front of him. So he been knew she was pregnant because he moved in with us. But yeah, I seen her taking care of him.
And then I did
tell
her that I don't believe.
He needs to buy things for you. So he been knew she was pregnant. He just lying because he don't want to step up because he already got 2 kids with her.
Now, isn't that one hell of a protective brother she's got there? According to our plaintiff, Mr. Burns was nothing but a deadbeat. Oh boy, Mr. Burns, here's a piece of advice. You better stop being one before her brother makes you dead meat. Anyway, let's just focus back on the session.
So that's sacrifices that I wish he would do, but he doesn't want to do it. Well, you know what? I told him, worry about it. You got me. I'm happy to do it. I'm sorry?
It's not my son.
Dude, you don't want to step up to the plate. He
He's
looks
not
just
my
like you,
son.
man. He looks just like you. Everybody sees him, like, he looks just like Sean.
It's funny that he would sit here now today and saying that it's not his son. Why would he sit there and tell my family, oh yes, this is my son. I can see the resemblance.
You just heard that right. The plaintiff claimed he acknowledged the baby at first and denied it later. What's happening? No one's explained their real concerns. Expect a round of allegations. So how about we just listen to the doubts? All right, here's the juicy part we've all been waiting for.
We did sleep the first day, yes.
Was it protected sex?
No, ma'am.
How is it you can know for certain this isn't your child?
I have a timeline.
Please step over.
Okay, so my first date going over her house was July 6th, and we had sex that night. And a couple weeks later, on the 27th, she tells me that she's pregnant 3 weeks later.
Okay, you know what's the first thought of a man after an incident like that? It was quick. But hey, wait, the exhibition wasn't over yet. Another important detail is yet to be discussed. Just see for yourself how Mr. Burns develops his theory.
September came and she went to the doctor on the 14th. You know, the doctor tell her that she's 12 weeks and 6 days, right? I go back 12 weeks and 6 days. I come to find out that I only been knowing her 10 weeks. So that confirms my first thought. Oh, she already been pregnant, you know?
Okay.
Whoa! Our defendant here also explains the doubts about the baby mama being promiscuous and dating a man before him. But as usual, these allegations are bluntly denied. However, there was just one person who's been missing from the picture. And guess who that is? Yep, Mr. Burns' witness. Let's see what she has to say.
Apparently, she has doubts as well because when we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we met in person and she said, if it is his, I just want to take full custody. I want to put him on child support. I don't want him to have anything to do with the baby.
She said if
she said if, and then when you say if, that means you are unsure, correct?
Well now, paternity peeps, even I'm paranoid. I'm not sure if the baby's gonna be Mr. Burns's or not, but my heart says Team Burns. So how about we just fast forward to the DNA test result and be a peacemaker to Miss Jarquin?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Burns, you are the father.
I know now, you know, and I'm gonna treat him and I'm gonna love him, you know. I'm gonna be there for him, as long as she let me.
Well, if sisters' love isn't the best thing in the world, sharing those nail polish, clothes, and even sometimes your boyfriends. What did I say? My bad. Well, what happened to these two sisters in today's paternity court? One believes the man across her podium is her father, and the other one says, hold on, sis, don't go singing daddy just yet.
Mr. Harden actually came to our house in Minnesota and with his 2 sisters, in which we all just spent the day together. And the last I recall, I was 11 years old and my sister Kiera was 10.
11, and you're 26 now.
Correct.
15 years ago is the last time you saw him?
Correct.
Oh, that's heart-shattering. The alleged daddy has been MIA for so many years. Talk about some responsibility. But hold on before you judge the man. He's been paying his child support. Let's just figure out what actually went down in their lives.
I actually caught Miss Ganal after I had to go out of town for a funeral. My first daughter was 6 weeks old. I came in from out of town for my aunt's funeral. I came home early to find Miss Ganal gone. Another lady was in the house. She threw the baby in my arm and ran out the door, Your Honor.
What is this testimony? And where were we, Mr. Harden? Was it the paternity ward or your home, saying women handed over the baby and ran out like that? All right, fine. The mama was a wild goose. But what led you to doubt the paternity of your eldest daughter?
When you found out she was pregnant, did you think the baby was yours?
There was a possibility, Your Honor, but
You only felt there was a possibility?
Yes, because she had slept with 2 of my friends prior to that. Shanice had already been born 6 weeks, so between that time, I waited. I didn't want to, deal with the situation, so I got away from her. About a month later, we got back together, and then she told me that she was pregnant.
Okay, the main concern was the mother sleeping with 2 of your friends. Talk about some quality benefits from friends. Oh man, who needs enemies when you have friends like that? However, this claim had to be refuted, so here's Miss Ganal stating her version of the truth.
When I first got pregnant, he was excited about it. He also, like I said, had another woman pregnant. She was pregnant a month before me.
Were you sleeping with anybody else during that window of conception?
When we first got together, no. But prior to that, like I said, I was with somebody. So there is
a possibility.
And I told him that.
With that being said, the oldest child's birth certificate had no daddy listed. But if the daddy wasn't listed, why did Mr. Harden end up paying child support for the 2 girls, which amounted to $90,000? Feels like the mother had her way with the man, paying child support. But hold on. Let's take the girls' opinions on this.
I'm trying to explain it right now. Last year we went to court about this. I begged the court to please give me a paternity test.
You took me to court last year to modify your child support payment.
I tried.
It's all about the money. The money. When you started paying child support payments, that's when you wanted DNA tests. You didn't have none of this before.
The desperation in the courtroom was the real deal. Further testimony also revealed that the daughters were also willing to pay for the paternity test, but Mr. Harden looked like he drank from the fountain of youth and denied he was ever asked.
We went our whole life. He's been calling us our dad. He's been saying he loved us, he missed us, he wants to see us. He's never in our whole life denied us until now.
Your Honor, I don't know. I've never actually denied them.
You have.
I haven't. I have never denied them. I'm right in the middle because I don't know.
On several occasions, the father was told that the babies didn't belong to Mr. Harden. Along with the money allegations, the alleged daughters have been told. So how about we go to the results and see if the mother was faithful to the man or not? It was time to end the 2-decade doubts in just 5 seconds.
When it comes to Shanice Ganal, Mr. Harden, you are her father.
I told you.
When it comes to Kiera Ganal, Mr. Harden, you are her father.
I told you.
Okay, so how would you feel if the man you've been calling dad for years didn't acknowledge you to be his child? As a matter of fact, he had done an amazing job keeping the paternity question alive. Well, we are about to find this out from Miss Smith, who faces a similar situation.
When he wants something, I'm his daughter. When he don't get what he wants, I'm not his daughter. He just been a big absence in my life.
And I read in the court papers that it hurts you that no one's on your birth certificate.
It hurt me so bad because I don't want to have a family of my own because he been denying me my whole life.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. However, the alleged daddy told Judge Lake about his hit-it-and-quit-it relationship with the mother, and both of them were living a fast life at that time. Dear Mr. Lewis, let me remind you, you just said the climax for the baby-making recipe.
When I came back to Cleveland, Ohio, I ran into another friend of mine. He said that Liz had a daughter, baby girl, and it's supposed to be your daughter. We went up there, and when we went up there, there was a conflict going on between Liz and her mother. I asked Liz, let's talk, you know what I'm saying, what's going on? They ain't had nowhere to go. I took Brittany to my home.
That's commendable.
Mr. Lewis admitted to caring for Miss Smith on and off since she was 3 or 4 days old, up until she was around 10 or 11. Now, isn't that a ton of responsibility? It means the alleged daddy had more tale to deliver on why he suddenly switched. You wouldn't believe what he did next.
You know who her father is? Could you get this to her, please? Yeah, tell me about it, Your Honor. Yeah, tell
You
me.
believe this is her biological father?
That is her father. You know why I say that? Because that's for the simple fact, because I caught him and her mom having sex.
First of all, how do you know this man?
That is my great-great-uncle.
Oh, filled with some juice, isn't it? Now that explains the years-long doubt. But hold on, let's just go into the details as to what actually went down. Here is Mr. Lewis explaining the colorful days of Miss Smith's big mama. You're in for a feast.
The door was cracked, it was open, I walk in. The bed is sitting right there, right in front of the door. It's a small apartment. smacking. They getting it. They getting it. He turned around and looked and see me. She raised her head up. All I did was look and shook my head and walked out.
Mr. Lewis, you're saying you walked in and she was in bed with your uncle?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, what's happening here? Miss Smith's mother had slept with Mr. Lewis's uncle? Damn, what a family reunion. But what his ex-wife is going to say next, well, that's definitely going to raise an eyebrow on whether there's something hidden between the lines or not. Just listen to what she has to say.
Did he tell you when he brought you the baby, this is my daughter or this might be my daughter?
He said it was his daughter.
All right.
Ooh.
You never looked at her and said, well, no, she doesn't look like you to me. She's not yours. You
Sir.
didn't doubt it?
No, I did not. I doubted it several times, but I didn't really doubt it because she looked like him.
Mr. Lewis's other daughter was also with Miss Smith and claiming her to be her sister, calling her dad a paternity denier as she herself got tested and the results came out positive. Feels like our man here does have some trust issues. Just have a glimpse.
Brittany, how does it feel in this moment to stand between two beautiful women, say, regardless, you're still going to be their family?
I just feel so numb to the point where my whole body just feel like it's flatlined.
You've been waiting for 25 years.
Yes.
You can't remember a time when you didn't have this doubt.
No.
Poor Miss Smith had been living with the doubt for so long. Can you imagine the anticipation in her heart? The fear of being left alone, and the pain she might have felt every day. Well, now was the time for her to breathe in the clear air and set the record straight. So, here are the paternity results.
Mr. Lewis, you are not the father.
Oh,
Bam.
God.
Tie down. That's our father right there. That's him right there.
Oh, my God.
Thank you.
You truly thought this was your biological father.